OnlyFans is the epitome of degeneracy. The harm this website is doing to our culture, it amplifies and encourages sexual deviancy. It's a virtual meat market where men pay women to degrade themselves. A site created by losers for losers. Kids strapped for cash and desperate for a way out turn their underdeveloped brains towards this app, leading them down a dark and twisted road of selling their body for cash. But the internet remembers. The internet never forgets. The business model of OnlyFans capitalizes on giving men a hollow sense of connection to a steady supply of surrogate girlfriends. It's been 8 years since OnlyFans was launched, 8 years of degeneracy. And look, I'm not hating on people that are changing their lives or getting rich off it, but it's more the detrimental aspect to society as a whole that I'm concerned about. Nobody likes drug dealers because their product ruins lives. Drug dealers probably make a lot of money and they change their lives, they change their family lives. But nobody likes drug dealers because their product ruins lives and kills people. But somehow, OnlyFans is normalized despite the mounting evidence of it being a net negative, and we're supposed to act like this is okay.
And you?
I'm also in my bed. I'm undressed. Want to see?
Oh god. Guess it's my lucky day. Yes.
Okay. You can see it if you subscribe to my OnlyFans here.
What?
Only $10 a month.
But where did OnlyFans even come from? Well, the simple truth is that OnlyFans is only a thing because our society is deteriorating. Millions of young people have no jobs and even less have any meaningful relationships. When you get this lack of social connection colliding with economic stagnation, people start to become desperate. And when people are desperate, you start to see cancers like OnlyFans begin to spread. In fact, OnlyFans now reports that 7,000 to 8,000 new women sign up every single day. Rather than seeing shock or concern at this fact, our society embraces it, with OnlyFans being lauded for empowering women and changing the face of our entertainment. OnlyFans is now the new beacon of progressivism, where salivating, young, lonely men search for their next dopamine hit by paying a monthly fee for a produced, hollowed-out sensation of connection. But this degeneracy isn't anything new. We've seen this before. The cycle is amplified by a recency bias where we focus too heavily on recent events and underestimate the long-term trends and lessons from the past. History always tends to repeat itself. The Roman Empire's transition from a republic of virtue to an extravagant empire exemplifies this perfectly. The empire's expansion brought wealth and power, but also led to greed, lavish lifestyles amongst the elite, moral corruption, and a breakdown in the traditional Roman values of discipline and austerity, which ultimately led to its downfall. In the modern era, countries with a strong central authority and national identity, like China and Russia, observe the decline of the Western nations with a keen eye. They see rising political polarization, cultural divides, and debates over national values and history as symptoms of a potential fall, much like the decline of the Roman Empire. OnlyFans is the embodiment of this depravity.
Here we've got Brendan and Yini, and we're gonna go make some magic, so I'll keep you updated. One scene down.
Alright.
More to go.
I mean, it ticks off at least 4 of the 7 deadly sins, being lust, greed, sloth, and envy. I would even add gluttony to that, overconsumption of lust. And whether you're religious or not, you can't deny that if everyone succumbed to these deadly sins, the society would not move forward and most people's lives would ultimately be miserable. This leads to the hypothesis that OnlyFans is an indicator of our imminent societal collapse because great civilization collapse when the economy serves not to elevate but to denigrate the population. We're now at the point where dignity and youth are chopped up and distributed for a profit, where young lonely men are bombarded with lies of finding an intimate connection for a fiver.
I don't love you anymore.
And with our stagnating economy, women are left with nothing to sell but their bodies and souls for next month's rent. They're left doing something strange for a piece of change. This combination of emotionally desperate men and economically desperate women serves to create this weird, lust and greed-fueled concoction of self-destructive societal deterioration. To understand how truly damaging OnlyFans is, we need to first understand the roots of its growth. We need to understand the psychology of the young men and girls who feel the urge to sell their dignity and self-respect to a giant, faceless corporation. We need to understand the wider implications of OnlyFans because only then we can mitigate the effects. So let's get into it. Let's uncover 8 years of OnlyFans, 8 years of degeneracy. OnlyFans was launched in 2016 by 33-year-old British tech entrepreneur Timothy Stokely. But before creating OnlyFans, Stokely was just another unknown businessman. He had previously owned similar websites with adult content, namely Glam Girls, Glam Worship, and Customs for You. They were basically corn sites and allowed custom-made videos from corn stars. Back in the late 2000s, cam girls were the closest thing you'd get to OnlyFans, and the cam girl market was oversaturated to say the least. So how could Stokely tap into this market? Well, like in all business, he needed to focus on a specific niche. What were other people not doing? Where was the untapped demand? The answer was clear: the financial domination fetish, where submissives give money and material to the dominants. Stokely's idea was to monetize this. After finding a subreddit promoting the fetish in his research, Stokely observed that people would spend large chunks of their paycheck for these weird economic relationships on sites like Reddit. And so, after getting investments from his relatives, Glam Worship was launched in 2011, and an economic dominance economy began to blossom. Although Glam Worship's success wouldn't last long, because in the same year, Twitter and Venmo were gaining popularity across the internet. This would be the final nail in Glam Worship's coffin, because through Twitter and other social media sites, consumers would view the content on Glam Worship and then reach out to performers on platforms like Twitter for their own personal videos, causing Glam Worship to lose large chunks of revenue. Which is why it didn't take long for Stokely to shut down Glam Worship. Not long after, he would go on to his next venture, Customs for You. Customs for You was created by Stokely and his father in 2014. The purpose of the site was to serve as a remastered Glam Worship site. But unlike Glam Worship, Customs for You made contracts with the cam girls. This was done so that users could directly request made-to-order content, with Customs for You acting as the broker. In a way, Customs for You was basically the beta version of OnlyFans. But before Customs for You was officially launched, adult film stars were reluctant to join the platform. The reason? They could see that over time, Customs for You would lower the bar to entry in the adult entertainment industry. These stars foresaw the site's business model relied on the oversaturation of the adult entertainment market, whilst also seeing that the site preyed on the naivety and vulnerability of the youth to make quick, easy money. And so, at the time, Customs for You was rejected and seen as outright damaging. The world was a different place at the time. People weren't desperate enough for the site, and as a result, Stokely never launched the site. But it wouldn't take long for this to turn around. After Customs for You's failure to launch, Stokely began reading into the prevalence of adult entertainers creating private content for money. Before OnlyFans, adult entertainers would use Instagram to post videos promoting themselves, but with Instagram's need to keep its brand polished, adult entertainment would be cracked down upon. Stokely had struck gold. Why not build a platform that allows these artists to monetize their work in a simple and secure manner? OnlyFans would be similar to a social media network with features like Instagram or Twitter, except that fans would have to pay a monthly subscription to view the artist's content. All of the content was behind a paywall. This is because Stokely understood that Instagram had done something unique. Instagram gave followers the opportunity to become almost like virtual friends with influencers. So Stokely's idea was simple. OnlyFans would be the paid version of Instagram. To access an OnlyFans paid membership feed, you would be charged a monthly fee, with the fee ranging from $5 to $50 per month. OnlyFans then also sets up pay-per-view content, where customers will pay up to $50 for a single piece of content. And if you really want to be the top simp, you can pay up to $100 in tips. This model of pimping was revolutionary. It meant that everyone from the girl in your class, innocent-looking ethos, to experienced professional adult entertainers could all sell their dignity for cash. OnlyFans users spent well over $14 billion on the platform in the past 3 years. So the big question is, if porn is free, why is OnlyFans still making so much money? Well, it comes back down to loneliness. Profiting off loneliness in sex work isn't anything new. This first started with webcamming, which eventually evolved to OnlyFans, which is the Super Saiyan version of webcamming. But what do the two have in common? Conversation. And that's how one of OnlyFans' first creators made her first million on the site. When OnlyFans started in 2016, Danny Harwood was one of the first 10 members on her site. Her earnings in the first month was $257. In an attempt to gain more money, she would create themed days like Mistress Mondays and Dear Danny Tuesdays, where men bid to watch her drive around town in her underwear and order pizza to her home, where she would answer the door in her bathing suit. But what quickly became apparent was that these guys weren't watching for this material. What these guys really wanted was for her to act as an online girlfriend. She'd message her lonely subscribers and learn everything she could about them to squeeze as much of their hard-earned money as possible. You can get porn for free, she said. Guys don't want to pay for that. They want the opportunity to get to know somebody they've seen in a magazine or on social media. I'm like their online girlfriend. By acting as an online girlfriend, Hollywood was able to generate $52,000 in November 2019 alone.
If you're simp, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
You must embrace it. Just show them that you don't care by sending me a few $100s now, and don't forget to buy my gamer girl exhaled air and jar.
In any healthy society, a site like OnlyFans would never grow so fast. It would just be another fringe site like Customs for You or Glam Worship. So why is OnlyFans a household name? Well, to understand the full scope of this phenomenon, we need to look into what catalyzed OnlyFans' success in the first place. And no, I'm not talking about Beyonce's shoutouts and Savage.
When I dance on that demon time, she might start her OnlyFans.
To do that, we first need to look into why so many men are forking over their money to the soulless website. OnlyFans wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the pandemic, the loneliness pandemic. In the last 10 years, we've seen our society become increasingly atomized, with loneliness among young men skyrocketing and 28% of men aged 18 to 30 reporting no sexual contact in the past 12 months. People don't realize how often men are experiencing this lack of intimacy. And the only place that they can experience intimacy is through sex or anything that is essentially linked with sex. A lot of men don't even realize that the intimacy is actually what they're looking for, which is why e-thoughts like Danny Harwood made millions off talking to these guys. We've created a society where men are so afraid to be vulnerable with each other, to be, sensitive with each other, to care for each other, to love each other. Even saying that as a guy, you have to change. You can't just say, I love you. You have to say, I love you, dog. That's just the facts. And it's interesting because that's where I do feel women have done a much better job of being there intimately for each other. Not sexually, but intimately. It's just that sites like OnlyFans conflate men's need for sex with visual imagery, because sex is one of the most important things to men. This emphasis might overshadow the desire for intimacy, which can be a more fulfilling aspect of sex that societal programming sometimes downplays for men. We take for granted how much in society men who say sex is the thing they're not getting are actually struggling with the lack of companionship, of intimacy, of being in a space with a person with it, where they're sharing, everything from serotonin to endorphins to what humans need to feel. There are many sex workers who've talked about this, where they'll just talk about how many men will pay them and say, hey, can we just talk? Can we just sit on the bed and talk? Can you please hold me? And that's exactly where camgirl sites and OnlyFans brings in most of its money, in a world where you can just watch a whole bunch of porn for free.
It's because of the connections you make, because when you watch porn, like, I don't know, you wanna fap, you wanna jerk off, and you find a video and you like anything you want to watch and you jerk off to it. So it's like minutes and I don't have any connection to the girl. I don't know their names.
At the time, it actually wasn't more for the porn, it's more for just the connection, because I was dealing with a lot of loneliness because a lot of my friends had left high school and stuff, and I had no one to talk to, and that's why I started using it.
OnlyFans is an illusion that only makes men's loneliness worse, because not only are these men getting a slow drip of anodyne intimacy, but they are in turn permanently molding their psychological framework. In Freudian psychology, there's this phenomenon known as the Madonna whore complex. This complex is defined when you have this inability to maintain a committed loving relationship, which means as a man, you may only see a woman as a saintly mother or Mary, or as a debased whore. Men with this complex desire intimacy with a degraded woman, whilst being unable to have the same desire for their respected partner. Freud argued that this leads to a situation where men love these respectable women but have no desire for them, and yet they have desire for these other women that they know that they cannot love. OnlyFans is capitalizing on this phenomenon because you have all these men becoming desensitized to the pleasure and satisfaction of authentic intimacy. These men are instead being programmed to lust over these strangers who they know that they cannot love, because they're now addicted to this over-the-top, raunchy behavior and unrealistic physical appearances. OnlyFans gives these guys this pleasure with no responsibility, something that just doesn't exist in real relationships. This means that you will need more and more stimulation as you build up tolerance, which means that you'll become so used to the OnlyFans system of affection, you become unable to get excited by real life encounters. You no longer have the lust for the woman that you genuinely care and love for. Studies show that this can cause such a shift in your brain chemistry that it contributes to erectile dysfunction. By consuming all this explicit OnlyFans content, you are further miring yourself in the endless loop of self-gratification. You are destroying any hope of finding good partners and actually improving your position in life. By destroying the skill of delayed gratification, you destroy self-discipline and concentration. You will lose the desire of chasing after real women who are actually good for you because instead you're sedated by OnlyFans. You're numbed by OnlyFans. The difficulty of finding relationships with Madonnas is now replaced by paying for e-whores to acknowledge your existence and listen to your insecurities. But what about the negative effects OnlyFans has on women too? What are some of the dangers of OnlyFans? Fast money comes with slow problems. OnlyFans is touted as a site where you can just post some content and all of a sudden you'll become a millionaire. But that's not how life works, nor how business works. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Yes, it's true that Bella Thorne made over $1 million in her first 24 hours on the platform, but that's because the top 1% of accounts make 33% of all the money earned on the platform. Thorne, for context, has 25 million Instagram and nearly 7 million Twitter followers, so she already has a huge ready-made audience. The average earnings per creator are in fact $150 per month, with the top 10% of OnlyFans accounts taking home 73% of the money. To have a chance at making money, a lot of work has to be done to build an audience. Creators report that even when they put in a lot of work, this doesn't always translate to adequate financial compensation. Plus, there is pressure to keep producing, to keep fans loyal and engaged. You will never make the real money while selling feed pics. Eventually, the insatiable hunger of these simps will have them wanting more skin, more revealing content, and eventually you'll have to bend over for the camera. Or in the case of Diana Dietz, Benjamin Button yourself for the camera. Dietz, or Coconut Kitty, was an OnlyFans star who was accused of playground baiting after she used to digitally alter her appearance to look like a little girl. She self-deleted after receiving intense backlash. I truly feel for someone who felt that the only way out was to self-delete, but what does that say about the 5.4 million fans who enjoy this playground baiting and these little girl type pictures and video clips? It remains unclear what the cam performer's real age was, but Dietz would often say publicly that she was 24 and had been doing so since at least 2021. She did speak about the Photoshop before she passed. I wanted to make something that looked like a real life anime character. Small chin, big eyes, that was made in my likeness because I used a picture of myself and I edited, Dietz explained in Rolling Stone at the time. I just wanted to create a fantasy, just a character, and I was able to hide my identity and still make money off my art. Coconut Kitty gave me an opportunity to disassociate myself. What I don't like about OnlyFans is that it puts a price tag on a human being, and the perceived money comes at a cost. I said earlier that fast money leads to slow problems. That's why there's so much regret circulating these days around OnlyFans. However, I do question whether it's because these models have already made their millions on our set that they now wish to retract and pretend like nothing happened.
It's days like this where I realize I need to go play with myself for a living. I just ate, I'm tired, and then I think to myself, maybe a 9 to 5 won't be so bad, you know? I know you don't feel sorry for me, but after 4 years, you know, my clit just sits there, it's like, please ma'am, no more, not again. Just like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Reality star Angela White, formerly known as Black China, has opened up further about her decision to leave OnlyFans. Despite earning $2 million in 2 years, White felt that she was exploiting herself and not portraying her authentic self. She has since become a born-again Christian and transitioned to the platform Passes, where she aims to showcase her true self and avoid the potential negative impact of her previous work on OnlyFans. But the thing about this is that the internet never forgets. Cause and effect is a real thing. It's something the Merovingian always spoke about in The Matrix, and it holds true in real life. Women acting like e-thoughts online begin to get treated like e-thoughts in real life. But when you're allured by the prospects of becoming rich and having an endless supply of guys, it's probably hard to resist the temptation of selling your body, especially when you have the media and celebrities telling you it's empowering, especially when OnlyFans is treated like just another job in the gig economy. And I mean, I must say, as a guy, I can't fully relate. I don't have God-given assets on my body that I can sell for money, which is why I can never judge. But once you go down this path, there is a harsh reality waiting for you, because in reality, you are selling yourself in the virtual meat market. You're subconsciously devaluing your self-respect because when you become an OnlyFans star, you know that deep down you're corrupting yourself. You can feel it.
When mommy's done being a hoe for the day, we should go for a walk. That's right, we go for a walk. Yeah. but mama's gotta be a hoe first. I gotta bust out the dildos. I gotta play with myself and make some money so I can keep affording that expensive ass wet dog food that you will only eat because you suck.
You always feel this blanket of insecurity wherever you go in your day-to-day life. You're quite literally disempowering yourself. You signal to all your future potential partners that you are willing to intimately share yourself with anyone for a fiver. And so, whether right or wrong, people will label you in the back of their mind. And this label doesn't have an expiry date. When one person sees it, it spreads like wildfire. You're not just paying with insecurity and embarrassment, you're instead paying with your own ability to form deep social connections with men you're compatible with, because you're making something like sex, which is the deep, meaningful experience, become just another cheap transaction. If you're turning love and connection into a cheap commodity, ask yourself this: why would anyone want to invest their time and emotional well-being into you when a group of thirsty guys are getting the exact same experience for $5 a month? When it's so easy to get pleasure from pixels, your masculinity doesn't get stronger. In fact, you become a shell of a man because no woman wants to be with a weak man who jerks off to other women. You stay a little boy instead of growing up to be a man, leading a household. And when men don't grow up, women become starved of masculinity. This is why new data highlights that women's adult searches are loaded with terms like brutal. It's why 62% of women have had involuntary fantasies. It's why strangulation play has become so normalized to the extent that one woman in the UK is accidentally strangled to death by her partner every 2 weeks. They're overcompensating because they're starved of that natural male force in their life. Now, of course, I'm not saying this is the case for all women, but what I am saying though is that the success of OnlyFans is creating a generation of men who neglect the necessary development needed to blossom their innate masculine traits. Traits like confidence, stoicism, and discipline, which is in turn creating a generation of women starved of masculinity. A generation of women who are made to feel that to be loved and desired, they have to be a thought. OnlyFans is what happens when you bring up an entire generation of men desperately fleeing from the mere hint of any form of responsibility. It's what happens when we innovate our own self-destruction. We look to simulate real-life interaction as we neglect the most rewarding interactions that life is all about: community, relationships, and real-life intimacy. We've abandoned the high culture in favor of lowbrow junk culture. We've abandoned the strength of character in favor of technological dependence. The only reason OnlyFans exists is because our society has become stale. The only kryptonite to OnlyFans is a healthy society. And to cure a sick society, we have to cure ourselves. To take back power to ourselves. To be virtuous in a world where virtue is laughed upon. We need to take back control of our lives, to call out the pimping of our youth. We need to stop mindlessly scrolling across the endless amount of nihilistic barren distractions that serve as filler to our hollowed out lives. We need to take a step back and just look at how truly isolated we've become. But only then can we start taking back our time and attention. Only then can we start our real life journey of self-development and real world connection. And speaking of self-development, I highly recommend watching the video linked up above that discusses self-improvement and identity for men in today's society. American Psycho is one of the most important movies of all time for men, and its relevance is even greater today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe so we can create better videos, and I will see you in the next one.